Hello, before we get started on today's edition of the Local Government News Roundup, I have a quick message from the Victorian Local Governance Association, which has responded to requests from some councillors to extend the deadline for the councillor census. You now have until 11:59pm tonight, Wednesday the 5th of November, to complete the census. It's the last chance for councillors across Victoria to have their say and help inform and influence important conversations about the local government sector. It only takes about 10 minutes to complete. Every councillor has been emailed a unique link to the census. If you need that resent, or if you have any questions at all, contact the VLGA directly or send them an email to census@vlga.org.au. And now let's get on with today's edition of the Local Government News Roundup. Coming up today, Greater Dandenong's Mayor rejects an independent workplace culture investigation. The City of Ballarat admits responsibility for $1 million failed road repair. North Sydney Council proposing rate increases of up to 54%. Gold Coast Council issued an enforcement order after 7 million litres of sewage spills. Queensland councils facing annual costs for weather data previously free. And the former Town of Cambridge Mayor loses her appeal against Code of Conduct breach findings. Hello, I'm Chris Eddy. All of that and more just ahead on Australia's #1 local government podcast. Also today,
we have over 700,000 tourists a year. We have a small community of just over 13,000 people. It's a big ask for our ratepayers.
My Roundup extra guest is Douglas Shire Mayor Lisa Scomazzon later in this episode. The Roundup is brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association, with support from Symphony 3. Welcome to our Wednesday, 5th of November edition of The Roundup. Greater Dandenong's Mayor Jim Mametti has rejected a motion seeking an independent investigation into the council's workplace culture, citing the Local Government Act according to the Star Journal. It follows an anonymous email that alleged chaotic staffing restructures and a divided leadership, and the recent resignations of 3 senior officials. Councillor Rhonda Garrard argued that councillors have statutory obligations to ensure a safe work environment, but the Mayor insists that staffing matters are the CEO's responsibility. The council is expected to conduct an internal audit of some of the claims made in the email. The City of Ballarat has admitted responsibility for a failed $970,000 road repair on Gillies Road that collapsed within 6 weeks. The council used an untested nanotechnology product but departed from proven European methods by adding a crushed rock layer before the nanotech treatment had fully cured. Road experts say the council should have performed mandatory testing before proceeding with the next layer. Councillors say nobody has been held accountable for the significant waste of ratepayer funds, according to the Ballarat Courier. The council has confirmed that it will continue with smaller-scale trials of the product. East Gippsland Shire Council has reversed its decision to stop paying insurance for Crown land facilities managed by volunteer committees. Mayor John White has apologised for the concern caused to the 43 affected halls, toilets and pavilions across the region. He said the council will now pay this year's insurance and consult with committees on future arrangements. The original decision is said to have been driven by concerns about whether the insurance would actually stand up in the event of a claim. The council says its other support for the Crown land committees, including $95,000 in annual funding, will continue. Campaspe Shire Council has adopted a 10-year financial plan that projects borrowings will peak at nearly 50% of rate revenue by 2032-33. The increased debt will fund a record $413 million in capital works, with more than $303 million allocated to infrastructure projects. Cash reserves are expected to drop by $30 million over the next decade, raising concerns among some councillors about the council's financial position. Councillor Tony Marwood says the borrowing capacity provides flexibility for beneficial community projects, though it doesn't guarantee the funds will be used. The Shepparton News reported the plan remains subject to yearly budget approvals and may change due to unforeseen events like natural disasters. Moyne Shire councillors have narrowly voted to adopt the Shire's 10-year financial plan after a call for job cuts by one councillor. The Standard reported that Councillor Lloyd Ross suggested artificial intelligence and other efficiency measures should mean jobs could go. But other councillors had raised concerns about a planned freeze on full-time staff members for 10 years, leading to staff burnout, low morale and poorer community outcomes. A revised plan, including the addition of one staff member annually, was ultimately adopted by 4 votes to 3. Meanwhile, Glen Eira City Council has updated its long-term financial plan as it grapples with unprecedented financial pressure due to rising costs, stagnant revenue and growing community expectations. After 2 years of community engagement, the council is setting up an advisory committee and will explore user pays models, further external funding opportunities and improved internal efficiencies, among other measures. And in senior executive news, former Shoalhaven City Council CEO and Greater Geelong Director Robin Stevens has been announced as the new CEO of Geelong Region Employment and Recruitment Agency GForce. Ms Stevens succeeds another former long-time local government CEO in the role. Ex-Surf Coast and Campaspe Shire CEO Keith Bailey has led GForce since 2020. In other news, the city of Ballarat will host the 2026 Australian Country Water Polo Championships in May next year at the Ballarat Aquatic and Lifestyle Centre, bringing top regional athletes from across Australia, boosting local business and showcasing the city's premier sporting facilities. The city of Casey has introduced Payable, a new free online platform giving residents more flexibility in how they pay their rates. Residents can set up weekly, fortnightly or monthly payment schedules and modify them at any time without contacting the council. And Gannawarra Shire Council has published online maps showing which roads and bridges are managed by council versus the state government. It follows community feedback that residents struggle to identify management responsibilities for local roads. A survey found 76% of roads rated as average, poor or very poor quality in the Gannawarra are actually managed by the Victorian Department of Transport. This is your post-Melbourne Cup holiday edition of the Local Government News Roundup, with an update for you from the Victorian Local Governance Association, which has responded to requests from some councillors to extend the deadline for this year's Victorian Councillor Census. Councillors now have until 11:59pm tonight, Wednesday, the 5th of November, to complete that census. It's the last chance for councillors to have their say and help inform and influence important conversations across the local government sector. The census takes only 10 minutes to complete. Every councillor has been emailed a unique link, and if you need to have that resent or have any other questions, you can send an email to census@vlga.org.au or call the VLGA directly today. Some news out of New South Wales for you now, and North Sydney Council is pushing for a major rate increase after a previous rate variation proposal was rejected. The council says it's facing severe financial pressure and needs the funds to maintain services. The Sydney Morning Herald reports that the council is putting 3 rate rise options to the community for feedback, ranging from a 10% increase over 3 years up to 54%. The higher increases are proposed to address critical infrastructure backlogs, which would continue to increase under the 10% option. A previous request for an 87% increase was knocked back by IPART. Consultation on the new options is open until early December. Rural councils across New South Wales are pushing back against a federal government proposal to slash default speed limits by 30 kilometres per hour outside built-up areas. The Country Mayors Association says the plan could increase travel times to medical appointments by up to 30%, creating life-threatening delays for regional residents. Mayors warn the changes would also drive up freight costs, worsen driver fatigue, and prove nearly impossible to enforce in remote areas. They're calling the proposal excessive and out of touch with the realities of rural road use. Kiama Council's 5 residential lots on Glenbrook Drive have all been passed in at auction, despite attracting strong interest with multiple registered bidders and competitive bidding. Mayor Cameron McDonald says the reserve prices have now been adjusted based on market feedback. The council's CEO has been delegated to negotiate directly with the highest bidders and other interested parties, and the council remains confident in achieving the best possible outcome for the community. The City of Newcastle is rolling out cutting-edge AI technology at Wallsend Swimming Centre to help lifeguards respond to potential drowning incidents up to 6 times faster. The LinkSight system uses CCTV cameras and deep learning algorithms to track swimmers and detect signs of distress, sending alerts directly to lifeguards' smartwatches. The technology is already being used at more than 75 public pools across Australia and has proven its life-saving capabilities. The system is expected to be operational at Wallsend Swimming Centre in December. Federation Council is installing protective tunnelling around the historic Star Hotel in Corowa after continued structural deterioration. The emergency measure follows reports of falling debris from the building's facade and veranda. The council has launched legal proceedings in the Land and Environment Court after the owner failed to comply with emergency orders. General Manager Adrian Butler said a detailed update on the legal action will be presented at December's council meeting. Central Coast Council impounded 1,384 animals in 24-25 and is building a new consolidated pound at Mardi to replace its 2 existing facilities. But the new centre is still more than 2 years away. The delay comes as the coast's dog population is projected to surge from 65,000 to 80,000 by 2032, placing increasing pressures on services that currently cost over $1.1 million annually to operate. However, the council's education and enforcement efforts have seen dog attacks decline for 5 consecutive years. The figures were revealed in the council's annual report and reported by Central Coast Community News. And there's speculation that Shell Harbour Council may be ready to appoint a new CEO. An extraordinary council meeting was called for last night with an agenda item listed for a confidential verbal report on the CEO recruitment. Rest assured, as news breaks on that appointment, we'll report it here on the Local Government News Roundup. And there's more senior exec news in New South Wales. Central Darling Shire has named Robert Hunt as its interim general manager, stepping in after Greg Hill's resignation last month. Hunt, who previously served as acting GM during leave periods, will start on the 17th of November. Luke Ryan has been appointed interim GM at Dubbo Regional Council for up to 12 months. He's currently Director of Infrastructure and has 25 years of local and state government experience. That appointment allows council time to recruit a permanent replacement for outgoing CEO Murray Wood, who finishes on November 28th. And Camden Council has rolled out a new online portal making it easier for residents to find and apply for grants. The system brings together funding opportunities from federal and state governments, businesses, universities and community organisations in the one place. Mayor Therese Fideli says the mobile-friendly platform will save time and cut red tape. Support for the Local Government News Roundup comes from Symphony 3, helping councils provide easier and faster access to services, like Brimbank Council, where Smart Glue integration is helping their team replace a maze of disconnected tools with one connected workflow. You can talk to the team at Symphony 3 to find out more about how Smart Glue can help your council provide simple, connected customer experiences. Time for the Queensland Report, and for Queensland listeners, stay with us towards the end of this edition for our Roundup Extra segment, this week featuring the Mayor of Douglas Shire Council, Lisa Scomazzon. The Mayor of Cairns, Amy Eden, has acknowledged contact with the state's council conduct watchdog over a conflict of interest investigation, according to the Cairns Post. The probe relates to her decision to chair a panel that appointed her former campaign advisor as acting CEO without declaring a conflict. Mayor Eden has defended her actions, saying she followed council legal advice and dismissed claims of tension within the chamber. Complaints to the Office of the Independent Assessor from Cairns councillors have doubled in the past year to 12. Gold Coast City Council has been issued an environment enforcement order after multiple sewage spills left fish gasping for oxygen and dead eels floating in waterways. 3 major leaks between September and December last year spilled more than 7 million litres of sewage into creeks and rivers. The Department of Environment says the council's failure to act on identified problems contributed to the unlawful releases. More on that from the Brisbane Times. The Planning and Environment Court has overturned Rockhampton Regional Council's refusal of a 500 megawatt battery energy storage system project, clearing the way for Ace Energy to proceed. Residents had raised concerns about bushfire risks following a 2023 fire at a nearby Tesla battery facility. The approval comes with extensive fire safety conditions, according to the Courier Mail. Queensland councils will now pay up to $40,000 a year for critical real-time weather information the Bureau of Meteorology has provided free for nearly 30 years, according to the Courier Mail. The Bureau is phasing out its Environmon software from July next year, forcing councils to source their own systems. Disaster Recovery Minister Anne Ley has slammed the move, saying the life-saving information is not Netflix and shouldn't be behind a paywall. The Local Government Association of Queensland says ratepayers will foot the bill for information they rely on during emergencies, while the Bureau says councils have had several years to prepare for the transition. Townsville residents will head to the polls to elect a new mayor without answers about the skyrocketing cost of the Horton Pipeline project, according to the Mercury. A council review of the project is still underway almost a year later. The project, designed to pump water from the Burdekin River to Ross River Dam, has been plagued by cost blowouts, leaving ratepayers on the hook for $79 million. The most recent estimate put Stage 2 costs at $420 million, but the council can't provide updated figures while the review continues. The SES responded to 107 call-outs across the Toowoomba region following severe weekend storms that battered the area with hail. Mayor Jeff McDonald says clean-up crews have been working on roadsides and public spaces while power is being restored. The Clifton Council Customer Service Centre has sustained damage and was closed until further notice. To Tasmania, and West Tamar Council has claimed gold at the Tasmanian Tourism Awards, winning the Local Government Award for Excellence in Tourism. The council was recognised for its outstanding work in promoting the region's natural beauty, local produce and heritage. West Tamar will now represent Tasmania at the Qantas Australian Tourism Awards in Fremantle in March next year. Devonport City Council took home the Silver Award in the same category. South Australian councils will gain new powers to tackle dumped shopping trolleys under laws passed this week. Retailers will be required to label trolleys and collect abandoned ones within 3 business days or face fines of up to $5,000. The changes, taking effect in early 2027, follow extensive consultation with councils and industry. Dumped trolleys are now classified as litter under the amended Local Nuisance and Litter Control Act. And in Western Australia, former Town of Cambridge Mayor Kerry Shannon has lost her appeal to overturn 5 Code of Conduct breach findings, according to Perth Now. The State Administrative Tribunal dismissed all appeals against findings by the Local Government Standards Panel. The complaints were brought by fellow councillors between 2021 and 2022 during her mayoral term. Breaches included critical letters to media, calling councillors misogynists and commissioning unauthorised reports. Ms Shannon is now the CEO of the City of Nedlands, but she's currently on indefinite leave following a performance review conducted by the city's commissioners. And the City of Busselton has won top honours at the Western Australian Coastal Awards for Excellence. The city took out the Coastal Adaptation category for its storm surge risk mitigation works. The awards, presented by the WA Planning Commission's Coast WA program, recognise excellence in protecting the state's extensive coastline. Let's grab some local government-related news from other parts of the world now. We're going to start in the USA, where it's election day for some parts of the country, and as we record the podcast, the clock is ticking down to the close of polls for the mayor of New York City. Democrat Zoran Mamdani is poised to win the election, according to the latest polls, with his closest rival appearing to be former Governor Andrew Cuomo. CNN reports that he has this morning distanced himself from Donald Trump, despite receiving the president's endorsement in the race. The current mayor, Eric Adams, is on the ballot as an independent, but he's dropped out of the race, endorsing Cuomo to be his successor. In Texas, El Paso City Council has narrowly voted down a proposal to remove a partisan TSA video from screens at El Paso International Airport. The video has sparked debate over its political messaging and will remain on display despite concerns raised by some council members. The decision came after a close vote on Tuesday, according to USA Today. While some city representatives argued the content was inappropriate for a public facility, a majority defended its relevance. There's tragic news out of Mexico this week. The mayor of Uruapan, Carlos Alberto Manzo Rodríguez, was shot dead during Day of the Dead celebrations in the town's historic centre. The Guardian reported that the attack happened in front of dozens of people, with the gunman firing 7 times before fleeing. A city council member and a bodyguard were also injured in the assault. Manzo Rodríguez had been under police protection and had publicly appealed for help confronting cartels in the violence-plagued area. Up to Canada, and Edmonton's new city council has made winter day shelter space its first priority. Mayor Andrew Knack secured unanimous approval for a motion to allocate $1 million from the Community Safety and Wellbeing Grant Fund. The city is working with the provincial government to create additional day shelter spaces for Edmonton's more than 5,000 people experiencing homelessness. The council hopes to have the shelters operational before winter weather arrives, and the mayor is calling on federal and provincial governments to match the city's funding commitment. And we'll finish in the UK with a bit of news to round up. Northamptonshire Council has passed a motion opposing the government's compulsory digital ID proposals. Reform UK and Conservative councillors called the scheme a step towards authoritarianism and a clear danger for residents, according to BBC News. The government says digital ID would help curb illegal migration and make it easier to prove identity for jobs and services. London's boroughs are facing a £4 billion funding gap over the coming years. Research by London councils shows a £1 billion shortfall this year alone, even after $400 million in emergency government support. Up to half of London's 33 boroughs could be forced to seek exceptional financial support to avoid bankruptcy by 2028. Wiltshire Council has narrowly rejected a motion to explicitly support the county's LGBTQIA+ community. Councillor Helen Belcher, who is trans, called the decision disgraceful after the council voted for an amended motion that removed references to LGBTQIA+ people. Some councillors argued the original proposal was divisive and amounted to identity politics. 46 councillors voted for the amended motion, while 43 voted against it. And Worcestershire County Council has unveiled a proposal to replace all 7 main councils with a single authority by 2028. Under the plan, councillor numbers would be cut by 55%, and it would cost £59 million to implement, including $8.5 million in redundancy payments. The authority claims the merger would save between £20 and £30 million a year once fully implemented. But 5 district councils are preparing a rival bid for a north-south split ahead of the 28th of November deadline. That's according to BBC News. Time now for another edition of Roundup Extra, and I'm delighted today to have with me the Mayor of Douglas Shire Council in Queensland, Lisa Scomazzon. We're going to explore the dynamics of leadership, community engagement and effective management and the challenges of funding and resource allocation in an area heavily impacted by tourism. Lisa Scomazzon, welcome to the Local Government News Roundup.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Nice to meet you, and congratulations on your election last year. I know you were Deputy Mayor for some time before that.
Yes.
Has being the Mayor of Douglas Shire been an ambition that you've had for some time?
Oh, not really. I was a councillor, the deputy mayor last term, and and I think I drew this short straw this time. But no, it's been good. It's very busy, a lot busier than what it was last term, but I'm enjoying it.
So what ultimately drew you to a life in public service as a local elected representative?
Well, I had 26 years in state government when I lived in Brisbane.
Right.
and I come back home for a change of sea change, as they call it, and bought a business here. And one of the old councillors that were here many, many years ago, he said to me, "Oh, you need to get into council." And I said, "No, I've been there, done that with local government. Oh, sorry, state government." "No, no, no, do it, do it." So I thought, "Oh well, I'll give it a go." But a couple of weeks out of the election, he passed away, and
Right.
I thought, you know what, I'll give it a go for George. So yeah, that's
And
history now.
the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah.
And how has being mayor changed the way you approach the role? Has it been everything that you expected?
Look, I think it's one of those jobs where you don't know what to expect till you actually get into the chair, and I think it's very important that you do it the way you wanna do it, and, so one of the most important things to learn out of all of it is that you're on the spotlight all the time. So you need to make sure that, you're positive within yourself. And I think one of the best things that's happened this term so far is that got a very good council and we work well together. And that does reflect onto the community. So, if you've got a happy council, the community, are pretty much halfway there.
Yeah. Has there been any time when you've been reminded of being in that spotlight when you've perhaps forgotten?
Um, Sometimes, yeah. Well, look, you got to have a double skin at least, maybe triple thickness of skin, but you get through it. You just can't take things personally. When people are not well informed or they're not happy about things, they will, have a go at council. Seems to be the
Yeah.
most easiest option to poke the stick at. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's all about good communication, I believe.
So we like to know is to get to know on this podcast different parts of Australia, different communities, the
Hmm.
challenges that you're dealing with. And just last week, we had the CEO of the District Council of Robe down in South Australia, which is coastal and has a unique set of challenges. You've
Yeah.
got your own unique set of challenges there, even just looking at some recent announcements about whale friendly tourism
Mm.
and
Yep.
infrastructure and, of course, disaster recovery. What's your elevator pitch when you sell the advantages of Douglas Shire to other people who might not know it?
Oh, look, this is probably the most beautiful place in the world. We have the rainforest, we have the reef, beautiful beaches. We are a really good tourist destination. And so we have a lot of tourists a year. We have over 700,000 tourists a year that
Yeah,
come through here or stay here. So it is very busy. And I suppose one little thing at the moment is, we have a small community of just over 13,000 people, and we have about 9,500 ratepayers. So it's a big ask for our ratepayers to fund a lot of the tourists that
yes.
come in with our services and things. But we are looking at the moment with a couple of other councils, looking forward to looking at a tourist levy. So that's just the beginning at the moment. So we've got a lot to work through on that one.
So this is this fairer funding model that you've called for. So can you talk
Mhm.
a bit more about what you expect that might look like?
So the tourist levy would be something that we would look at maybe, just example at this stage is 2.5% on accommodation. So,
Right.
and that would be a big boost for our show. We're looking at probably $7 to $8 million. So that eases the burden on our ratepayers. So, we have a common thing on social media at the moment. Everyone wants a lagoon. Well, as the rate base of this show, we can't afford that. But with the tourist levy, there's things that we can look at. A lot of opportunities in our show to boost our tourism where instead of having 4 or 5 months of the year, we can do it 12 months. So we wanna produce a product that people wanna keep coming back.
Yeah, I guess the approach overseas, we see lots of really
Mm,
popular tourist destinations use these
yep.
levies, but they're often about trying to reduce the level of tourism because they've reached over tourism. You're not talking about stopping people coming to
No,
Douglas Shire, are you?
no. No, we wanna share our beautiful spot with everybody,
Yeah,
it's looking at, maybe more walking tracks or bike tracks or just something where people can come up, relax, and they don't need to go too far.
yeah,
The reef and the rainforest, once everyone's done that once or twice, they're looking at something different when they come
yeah.
to visit. So, we need to put our thinking caps on and look at what we can do within our region, and that's where the tourist levy would come in handy for us to be able to fund those little projects.
You mentioned you're talking to some neighbouring councils about this idea.
Mhm.
Who do you see as being part of that approach on a regional basis?
Um, yeah, so at the moment, Cairns will work closely with us. We're looking at Noosa. I'd say the Sunshine Coast will probably come on top of that. So, some councils are just sitting on that fence there going, "Will we, won't we?" But I think, you need to pilot it just to show, the benefits it will be. But at the end of the day, it's up in the air. It may work out when we do the project, it's not beneficial at all. So,
Hmm.
but let's give it a go and see what comes out of it.
Would you go on your own to try that if the other councils say it's not the right time for us?
Look, we'd pilot and give it a go. I know Cairns wants to work closely with us, so we'll
Right.
always have Cairns aboard. So up this far, I think a pilot for Cairns and Douglas would be great.
Yeah. So you've talked a bit about what that levy might enable you to do in terms of other tourism offerings.
Mm.
Tell us a bit about the situation now in terms of the impact of that tourism on the infrastructure that you currently have and obviously need to maintain.
Yeah. So currently, like our population quadruples in tourist time. So that's a huge cost for the ratepayers of this shire for extra costs with waste, rubbish collection. I didn't realise how much rubbish and recycling costs
Mm.
once you get into council. It's huge. And, our water and just the general keeping our parks mowed, the roads. It's a big burden on our ratepayers. And
Yeah.
the more tourists we get, the more costly it becomes.
Yeah. So you've recently also talked about supporting this whale heritage and
Mm.
whale friendly tourism initiative. How does that align with your broader vision for sustainable tourism in Douglas Shire?
Well, we're a member of the Reef Guardian Council program, and it encourages local government and communities to play an active role in protecting the Great Barrier Reef. So we really enjoy being on that. So we will promote, educate, and sustain practices that will contribute to the healthy marine life within our shire, and so that also will help to protect the whales and dolphins.
Yeah.
So it's been quite exciting to jump on board with this. But this year, some of the boaties have noticed there's more whales, and
Right.
so I'm not too sure if they're coming a little bit further in, closer to the land. But we've had quite a good whale season this year.
Do you
So,
do you think that's partly because of some of these initiatives that have already been put in place?
of course, yeah,
Mm.
it gives our marine life a sense of safeness as they're coming up and down the coast. So,
Right.
we've got to, we've all got to play our little part, and so it's great to see whales close up, but we must also respect their space as well. So, I think this is a great thing.
Absolutely. So what does being whale friendly in terms of tourism mean for the average tourist? Will people see any difference as a result of this?
Look, the only difference I say is if they're out in a boat, and so boaties have to abide by, not getting too close to the whales, enjoy them without touching them, and I think that's only really we don't really see them from shoreline here in Port Douglas or Mosman,
Mm,
so, it's just having the respect
yeah,
with the ocean and the animals within the, ocean.
yeah. We
But great
can't
business opportunities.
yet really? Tell us a bit more about that.
I'm sure someone will, start a whale watching tour up here. I had a
Right,
joke with one of the local councillors because she owns a boat. I said, "Well, there's a great opportunity."
right. So you heard it here first, some gaps in the market there that
Yeah.
potentially, people could be capitalising on. We can't talk to you and talk about Douglas Shire without noting the recent history of disasters, particularly
Mm.
ex-tropical cyclone Jasper. How is the community as of today recovered from that particular extreme event?
Look, we're still in recovery. It's gonna be it'll be another 12 to 2 years with recovery if everything goes well and we don't have any more terrible weather events. You
Mm,
know, we've still got, locals that are just getting their insurance finalised.
mm,
So it's been a long term for a lot of our residents. Cyclone Jasper didn't do a lot of damage. It was the rain burst after that that just continued rain for days and days and caused you know terrible flooding and landslides. And that's what has been really hard to come to terms with. People are still in. We get some really hard rain that comes through, and people are still very nervous. So
yeah,
it's working together as a community to try and get through this, and hopefully the next couple of
yeah.
seasons will just be a little bit kind to us.
You were deputy mayor when that event hit?
Yes, I was.
Tell us about how challenging a time that was for you as an elected representative. We've talked to your former CEO on the program before
Mm.
about her perspective on it as the CEO of the time. What was it like for you?
Look, most of us were stranded. We couldn't get into town to do anything. We all live out somewhere where there's a bridge, and the bridges were way over. I live down at Newell Beach, so we're right on the beach there, and we had, double king tides and water was everywhere. But I couldn't get into town, but it was just rallying around our community at Newell Beach and just to make sure people were okay. I was cleaning gutters out because
Mm.
unfortunately coconuts like to float everywhere into our gutters, so it's cleaning gutters out and just little things like that. I own a takeaway store down at Newell Beach, so we ended up with I think it was 8, 9, about 10 SES personnel who got stranded. So we had to feed them and house them for a couple of days until they could get back
Oh,
out. So
mm,
it was a little bit busy then. So yeah, but look, it's trying to keep positive for the community, and a lot of them went through. We had flooding that we've never seen flooding before.
yeah.
So and people just weren't prepared for it. And, you can prepare as much as you can for a cyclone, which I think everyone did quite well, but we didn't expect what was coming behind it. So
Do you think your community's stronger and more resilient, though, as a result of it?
oh, look, yes, they are.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that we have to prepare now for the unknown. And so within council, we established a dedicated disaster management unit, and their role is just both preparedness and recovery. So,
Mm.
we're looking at things how to do better. Um, Within council and then for our community. So, disasters always happen around Christmas time for some reason
Right.
and before or after. So
Mm.
it's ensuring that we've got the staff on board and we've now got this great sandbagging bit of equipment.
I was going to ask you about that. These 2 new sandbagging machines, first
Yeah.
of their kind in the region, I believe.
Yeah, that's correct. So that'll take the load off a lot of people trying to shovel sand in a bag. But no, it's a great. It does up to about I think it's 600 sandbags in an hour. So so it'll be great. It'll be really good. It'll help the community.
I guess it's one of those things that you hope never to have to use, but
Mm.
it's the insurance that's there just in case.
Yeah, that's right. It's these little things that it's there. You can use it. Sometimes when the rains come through, they come through pretty quick and the
Yeah,
water rises very quick. So
yeah,
it'll help, SES will have all these bags ready to go. So, which is
yeah.
be good.
You talked about the scale of the flooding, the bridges that were washed out, et cetera. There's obviously
Mm,
been a lot of infrastructure replacement that's needed
yeah.
to occur. Have you been able to build back better, as they say? Have the funds flowed to be able to do that?
Look, we've been really fortunate. We've had good funding. So building back better. I think the days are gone where, you know, you'll get funding just to bring it back up to the standard it was. But unfortunately, the standard it was, it's not there anymore. So we have to be resilient and build better. These bridges that in the past, you just put a little bit of another nail and a bit of wood on it, and hopefully
Mm,
it'll last. We've got to be able to build better so they're prepared for the next flooding.
yeah. As mayor of the Shire, what is it that keeps you awake at night, Lisa? Is it the risk of more disasters, or is it something else?
I have full days, so I sleep pretty well, to be honest.
That's good. Good.
Look, we at council here, I have a very good CEO and I have very good general managers and staff. So they do an excellent job and it helps me a lot. So for my job interacting with the community, finding out what they would like, what's anything new that they would like to see. It's being out in the community and it's one of those things that things pop up and you go, okay, how can we deal with this? What's the best way of dealing with this? And we have good meetings. We discuss, councillors and I discuss a lot of things. We'd like to see a lot more things happening, but it comes down to
Yeah.
funding.
Yeah, of
So
course. It always does. It always does.
it does.
Yeah.
We don't have the money tree in the backyard, unfortunately.
If we were to look ahead to the end of your time as mayor, whether it's this
Mm.
term or beyond, what is it that you would most like to be able to say that you've achieved?
I think the best thing the things I'm trying to achieve, we've got a couple of things at the moment that's ready to be delivered next year. So that's the Daintree Ferry. So that's will be a new ferry up in 27, which has been, quite a few years getting that up and running. So that'll be there, and also our new Mossman water intake. So that's really important. After the flooding, we had landslides into our water system, which has just destroyed our water. So staff have worked very hard to get that up and running, and what we've got now is fantastic. But we do need more water, so we've got a second water intake happening. So both of those communities builds a stronger community and makes our council sustainable. So it's all about being resilient and sustainable. So there's a couple of other big projects I would like to bring in, but I don't know if I got the time. But it's, I'd love the community to be able to say, you know what, we have got such a great place to live,
Yeah.
um, and enjoy what we do. We've got a beautiful spot here, so it's just, just building and building and building. That's what it's all about. We've got a couple of, coming into council, I had to lead in with the left chin on a couple of things. So we had our sugar industry, a mill has died and no longer there. So it's giving a positive output to the community. We've got to keep moving. Times are hard for everybody.
Yeah.
It's we've got to keep that positivity going.
Which is good to hear. I've got to ask you, though, you said there's a couple of other big things you'd like to see happen, but you're
Yeah.
not going to mention them. Is it because
No.
they're secret at this
No,
point?
no. I don't think I'm advocating hard.
Right.
So
For
once someone says, "Oh, yeah, that sounds like a good idea in the right spot," then I'll be saying something. But yeah, it's a
Okay.
bit.
All right.
I love a lot of things, trust me.
I can't draw you any further on that by the sounds of
No,
it.
that's about it at this stage. So
I was also reading about these new reforms that the Premier announced at the LGAQ conference a week or so back. Are you across those, and how do you feel about what the government's bringing into place there?
look, I think one of them was to give councillors more say in what happens. Over the years, I think with the change of legislation, unfortunately, some days you wonder why you're even here, because we don't really have. We're more like a board now than a mayor and councillors. So, but it would be good where the barriers are knocked down with staffing matters and things like that, for councillors to have more say. But we've got to be very careful in how we do that as well.
Yeah.
Not all councils are good like mine, but we have to ensure that, we have to be careful what we do. I have a good rapport with all the staff, and so do the councillors. We know what we can do with staff. We can't direct them, but we can, we can talk to them.
Mm.
And so we have a really good, happy and friendly council at the moment.
Sounds like a healthy culture. I think one of those other
It is.
changes was ensuring or enshrining the mayor's lead role in terms of disaster management and recovery. So, given our earlier conversation, I'm assuming you'd support that as well.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, to be, like I'm the chair of the local disaster management group. And so it's having to, um, I think when I first got the title, I went, oh, well, I don't know nothing about
Yeah.
disasters. Come on, what do you want me to do? But I can understand now when you go through it, you need somebody there that's probably not a policeman or emergency worker. It's someone that can, at the time, be able to make those decisions and be
Yeah.
the forefront of that team.
Yeah.
So it's,
So it sounds like it's been a bit of a learning curve for you as well.
oh yeah, like I thought, I ended up getting boots to wear, so that was one good thing. So I had to wear boots.
Oh, look, it's been great to talk to you, Lisa. Thank you so much for your time. I'd love to
That's
get up there and see Douglas Shire for myself in the not too distant
yeah,
future, as I'm sure many of our listeners will do. And let's hope that this summer period is storm free for you as much as it
yes.
possibly can
It
be.
would be great, yeah, but, yeah, please, yell out if you come up, and love to give you the tourist,
I'll take you up on that. Thank
yep,
you very much.
tours of what you wanna see, yeah, be great.
Excellent. Thank you for coming on the show. That's Lisa Scomazzon, the Mayor of Douglas Shire Council in Queensland. It's been great to have you here.
Thank you, Chris, it's been a pleasure.
If you have a local leader, a CEO or mayor that you'd like to hear on Roundup Extra, do reach out, let us know. We'll extend them an invite. That's the latest for the Roundup. This was edition number 513, recorded on the morning of Wednesday, the 5th of November, 2025. You can email us at lgweeklynews@gmail.com with comments or feedback, and you can find story links for this episode at lgnewsroundup.com. The podcast is brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association, the national broadcaster on all things local government, with support from Symphony 3, simple connected customer experiences. The Roundup records 3 times a week in the city of Greater Geelong, Victoria, on the land of the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation. We'll be back on Friday. Until then, thanks for listening and bye for now. Support for our podcast comes from Symphony 3, which has announced exciting news. It's launched its innovative Smart Glue platform on the AWS marketplace. That makes the secure and affordable integration solution accessible to government agencies worldwide. The platform includes over 50 pre-built connectors specifically designed for public sector systems, government APIs, enterprise solutions and AWS services to transform citizen experiences by breaking down data silos. Smart Glue delivers operational excellence for local governments through cost reduction, process optimization, improved decision-making and scalable architecture, all while maintaining comprehensive security and compliance standards required by public sector organisations. Get in touch to see how Symphony 3's expanded team and solutions can support your goals. Head to symphony3.com to find out more.